Is Thorfinn's ideology flawed? Hey guys, Vok here with the Vinland Saga video for you today. This is a topic I'm quite invested in, and trust me, I'm not one of those edgy kids that wants Thorfinn to return to his path of revenge, but I equally think his pacifist ideology is partially flawed. Remember, it is my perspective, and feel free to tell me yours in the comments down below. That being said, let's discuss conflicting ideologies within Vinland Saga. I suppose it's best to start with Thorfinn's original ideology, that being one of hatred and violent futility. Askeladd's ambush and subsequent murder of Thor's left Thorfinn in a self-destructive spiral for the younger years of his life, consumed by an obsession to slay Askeladd in an honourable manner to restore Thor's respect. However, Thorfinn is immature, and Askeladd uses his prodigious killing ability to his own advantage, manipulating Thorfinn to his own benefit, as ultimately Askeladd is an elite warrior with so much experience that Thorfinn's chances of winning a duel are next to nothing. The beginning of Vinland Saga is to demonstrate the violence of the Viking world and the cycle of hatred that causes constant war and conflict, and Thorfinn navigates this nonchalantly, doing anything to get closer to his goal of slaying Askeladd. He kills without consideration and is passive to the slaughter of innocents, focused only on his selfish and tunnel-visioned ambition. However, Yukimura denies Thorfinn the satisfaction of killing Askeladd in his final and powerfully evoking last stand, mortally stabbed by Canute, dying in Thorfinn's arms as he explodes into a cascading volcano of erupting anger. It is this moment that Thorfinn realizes his life, his purpose, and his future are all nothing. His existence has been futile, the pursuit of revenge has done nothing but cripple his ability to progress, and Yukimura demonstrates the futility of revenge and holding on to anger by showing Thorfinn's emptiness after Askeladd's death. Thorfinn's ideology was absolutely unhealthy, becoming more of a wraith than a human, to show the cycle of hatred that can occur, which comes back to haunt Thorfinn, such as shown with Hild, whose father was murdered by Thorfinn, repeating the same fate he had as a child, which reflects the hypocrisy of his past resolve. However, the following arcs serve to rebuild him as a character through growth and self-discovery to atone for his past. Whilst many fans who enjoyed the prologue filled with violent action and a badass Thorfinn criticised the shift Vinland Saga embarks upon, I completely love it, as Thorfinn becomes a slave, which is a literal representation of what his pursuit of revenge was, as he was a slave to that lifestyle, making him miserable. He is haunted by the severity of his past, having nightmares about those he killed for his pointless ambition. In order to amend for his sins, Thorfinn takes a stance against violence, aiming to never harm another person ever again. However, this newfound ideology would be tested to the max almost instantly. Like Thor's, Thorfinn adapts a non-lethal form of combat, only using force as a last resort. This fails to protect someone though, as his fight against Snake leads to the lethal blow to Gardar, Thorfinn failing to protect him. This isn't the only time Thorfinn fails to navigate a complex situation, as most recently and most importantly he failed to establish Vinland as a plausible existence. The conflict with the Lanu resulted into Thorfinn literally accepting he has to leave the settlement behind to avoid war, and whilst Ivar can be blamed for the increased tension, Thorfinn was still equally as hopeless in securing Vinland as a living space, as he was opposed to protecting the village with fortifications such as weaponry and security. This is such a naive perspective to have in my opinion, as Thorfinn is aware of his surroundings within the tumultuous environment that is the Viking Age, where the threats can occur from any side at any moment. To think they could live in complete peace and harmony is simply an idealistic ambition rather than realistic, as the world he lives in operates by bloody conflict and is something Thorfinn himself cannot change. Even with the people that followed Thorfinn to Vinland, most chose Ivar's side to protect themselves with weaponry, essentially shattering Thorfinn's entire vision. I agree that trying to become a better person that doesn't rely on anger, violence and bloodshed to resolve conflict is a positive thing. However, the issues arises when trying to implement this on a wider scale. Fear creates tension, and tension can lead to conflict, and when humanity has existed based on violence to resolve issues since the dawn of time, this mindset is almost impossible to escape. Alongside this, a culture that promotes war as thoroughly as the Vikings also increases the challenge, making it seem rather unlikely that Thorfinn can achieve his dream of a land with no war and no slaves. Yes, the argument can be made that Thorfinn created a positive shift in disbanding the Jomsvikings, a group of elite warriors. However, by giving them the freedom to join Canute's conquest, Thorfinn essentially provides them with another path to quench their thirst for bloodshed, ultimately achieving nothing, as the slaves and death that will result from the disbanding will eventually equal the little impact he had then. He didn't change their viewpoints, he just changed how they had to achieve them. Vinland Saga is a manga of introspection and to challenge our world ideals through following a man on a journey to self-betterment. However, from my reading, the only truth I have extracted is that whilst good people do exist, there will always be a balance of bad, destructive people who make an ideal world impossible. And whilst change can occur in people, it is a real struggle to maintain, as Thorfinn has experienced with his rage towards Floki in the Baltic arc, prepared to kill him and return to his old methods. Overall, I have to predict Thorfinn to fail his goal, as the manga does draw on historical aspects, and it's obvious that Thorfinn won't ever make a world free of war. However, even in establishing a settlement of a town without violence, I don't see how this will work, especially now they will be leaving Vinland once more. As Thorfinn states, Canute hates war more than most. However, it is the most efficient path to peace in Canute's mind, to become an overwhelming force that cannot be challenged and create a level of peace. Whilst I have issues with his ideology as well, it certainly has achieved things that Thorfinn simply cannot. He uses force to cause change, but the main difference in his pursuit in the idea of Vinland to most other rulers is that he takes no pleasure in the violence. As a child, he was a coward. However, after a dramatic shift in his character, he became a leader, with a grasp on his own autonomy, and becomes inspired by Thorfinn's pacifist ideology. Whilst Canute does not agree with his ideals, he respects and admires Thorfinn beyond measure. Instead, Canute believes that to save the world they must use power. To unify the human power to rebel against the rules that God has ordained is the only way to find peace. He has a saviour complex, and where he thinks to save others is his purpose, and therefore this justifies his mission and those who die in the wars he participates in. The issue with Canute's ideology revolves around the cycle of hatred and the power vacuum that has plagued humanity for all time. Whilst he may hold a relative peace in his rule, what will eventually follow can become chaos, as once he dies, many will fiend for that power, and as a result wars will begin once more, dividing the work he did. Canute operates within the usual process of conflict resolution, and whilst he has different ambitions, he does not present a new ideology that can create a shift away from violence. He is tormented by his father's haunting presence, as Thorfinn is with Askeladd, who shows Canute's path to be one of continuous bloodshed and to reach his paradise in an eerily similar way as Griffith's path to his dream is shown in Berserk. To conclude, whilst Thorfinn and Canute both have similar ambition to create a world of peace, they must operate differently based on their own ideals, and both methods present drawbacks and positives. Whilst Thorfinn can find inner peace and heal as a person, Canute is plagued with the victims of his slaughter that he justifies for his goal. At the same time, Thorfinn struggles to make progress through conflict, as his adherence to violence creates a barrier, one that Canute would confront and destroy. I'm obviously by no means a philosopher or a deep thinker, however I do feel that both men attempt to reach an unattainable reality, steeped in what they want it to be, rather than what it is and can be. Anyways, that wraps up today's video. I know it took a while to come out, and sorry for that, but I've been working on my editing ability to improve the video, so I hope you enjoyed, and until the next one, peace.